Sunday, June 7th, 2026. Today's World News Headline Summary. 1. CNN. 1-1. Lebanese leaders lash out at Iran and say their country should not be used as a bargaining chip. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Prime Minister Nawaf Salam have publicly and vehemently criticized Iran for actively using Lebanon as a mere bargaining chip in its ongoing negotiations. Negotiations with the United States. This intense condemnation directly follows Iran's recent and controversial rejection of a tentative ceasefire agreement carefully brokered between the Lebanese government and Israel. President Aoun forcefully emphasized that Lebanon must absolutely not remain a continuous battlefield for external actors aggressively pursuing their own strategic geopolitical interests. He firmly rejected recent provocative statements made by Iran's Revolutionary Guard, explicitly citing the severe destruction of vital Lebanese infrastructure and the tragic, unacceptable loss of civilian lives. Consequently, senior Lebanese officials are unequivocally demanding that Tehran immediately cease leveraging their fragile national security for diplomatic leverage in the broader Middle East conflict. "It's not your job to interfere into our country," Aoun stated explicitly in a rare and direct televised rebuke. The situation underscores the deep fractures currently destabilizing the region. Vocabulary. Vehemently. Adverb. 열렬하게, 격렬하게. The opposition leader vehemently opposed the controversial new tax policy during the parliamentary session. Bargaining chip. Noun. 협상 카드, 유리한 조건. The captured soldiers were cynically used as a bargaining chip during the tense peace negotiations. Condemnation. Noun. 규탄, 맹비난. The sudden, unprovoked military attack drew immediate and widespread international condemnation. Tentative. Adjective. 잠정적인, 머뭇거리는. The two warring factions have finally reached a tentative agreement to halt hostilities for 1 week. External. Adjective. 외부의, 대외적인. The fragile domestic economy remains highly vulnerable to sudden and unpredictable external shocks. Provocative. Adjective. 도발적인, 자극적인. The ambassador issued a highly provocative statement that severely damaged bilateral diplomatic relations. Infrastructure. Noun. 기반시설, 인프라. The national government plans to invest billions in rapidly modernizing the country's aging infrastructure. Leverage. Verb, noun. 활용하다, 영향력, 지렛대. The multinational corporation ruthlessly leveraged its massive market dominance to crush smaller competitors. Unequivocally. Adverb. 모호하지 않게, 명백하게. The scientific committee stated unequivocally that climate change is heavily driven by human activities. Rebuke. Noun, verb. 질책, 꾸짖음, 비난하다. The careless senior manager received a very stern public rebuke from the disappointed board of directors. Destabilize. Verb. 불안정하게 만들다. The sudden collapse of the currency will likely severely destabilize the entire regional economy. Fracture. Noun, verb. 균열, 골절, 부러지다. The ongoing political scandal has caused a very deep and permanent fracture within the ruling coalition. 시사용어 해설. bargaining chip, 협상 카드. 외교, 정치, 비즈니스 협상에서 상대방으로부터 원하는 양보를 얻어내기 위해 전략적으로 소유하거나 통제하고 있는 요소, 인질, 무역제재 해제, 동맹국의 안보 등을 의미한다. 본 기사의 맥락에서 이란은 미국과의 핵 협상이나 경제 제재 완화 협상에서 유리한 고지를 점하기 위해 자국의 통제를 받는 레바논 내 무장단체 헤즈볼라의 군사적 행동을 협상의 도구로 삼고 있다. 레바논 지도부의 발언은 주권 국가의 안위가 강대국의 패권 다툼의 희생양으로 전락하는 현실을 비판하는 외교적 수사이다.
1-2. U.S. military shoots down Iranian drones and strikes radar sites. The historically fragile and highly sensitive ceasefire between the United States and Iran has been severely strained following a recent, intense exchange of military strikes in the strategic Gulf region. The U.S. military officially reported that it successfully shot down 4 highly advanced Iranian drones and subsequently targeted critical military radar sites located deep in southern Iran. In rapid and fierce retaliation, Iranian military forces launched precision ballistic missiles explicitly aimed at established U.S. military facilities stationed in Kuwait and Bahrain. This alarming latest escalation occurred precisely as diplomatic efforts to formally extend the temporary ceasefire remain completely stalled due to entrenched political differences. International observers urgently warn that such direct, kinetic confrontations dramatically heighten widespread concerns regarding long-term regional stability. Furthermore, these strikes profoundly complicate the extremely uncertain future of international negotiations over Iran's controversial nuclear development program. The ongoing and expanding conflict distinctly underscores the incredibly precarious nature of the current Middle Eastern geopolitical landscape. Vocabulary: fragile, adjective. The post-war region is currently experiencing a highly fragile and unpredictable economic recovery. Severely, adverb. The crucial agricultural crops were severely damaged by the unexpected and prolonged severe winter frost. Retaliation, noun. The sudden missile strike was widely condemned internationally as a brutal act of military retaliation. Precision, noun. The delicate brain surgery requires extreme medical precision to entirely avoid damaging vital nerves. Escalation, noun. The United Nations must actively intervene to prevent any further dangerous escalation of this armed conflict. Stall, verb. The crucial peace negotiations stalled for months over bitter disputes regarding historical national borders. Entrenched, adjective. Overcoming the deeply entrenched systemic racism in the country requires absolute continuous societal effort. Kinetic, adjective. The military deliberately shifted from mere cyber warfare to highly destructive kinetic military operations. Profoundly, adverb. The inspiring philosophical lecture profoundly changed my entire personal perspective on modern human life. Controversial, adjective. The government hastily implemented a highly controversial immigration policy despite massive public protests. Precarious, adjective. The displaced war refugees are currently living in an extremely precarious and dangerous financial situation. Landscape, noun. The rapid rise of powerful artificial intelligence is drastically altering the global economic landscape. Kinetic, sound, physio. Kinetic action, kinetic confrontation. 1-3. Canada prepping for the World Cup. Canada is actively and enthusiastically ramping up its comprehensive logistical preparations as one of the extremely proud co-hosts of the highly anticipated 2026 FIFA World Cup. Major metropolitan cities like Vancouver are strategically utilizing the massive global tournament to spectacularly showcase both international soccer history and their own uniquely diverse cultural identities. For instance, prominent local business associations have ambitiously commissioned expansive and vibrant murals to beautifully celebrate the sport, while simultaneously reflecting Canada's remarkably rich multicultural background. Government officials and economic analysts widely recognize the upcoming event as a tremendous once-in-a-generation opportunity that will dramatically benefit local residents, international visitors, and struggling local businesses. The projected international global viewership is highly expected to easily surpass even that of the famously popular Super Bowl or the traditional Olympic Games. The mural celebrates more than 70 years of soccer history, stated a highly enthusiastic local executive director, emphasizing the deep historical connection. This immense sporting festival represents a vital catalyst for nationwide cultural and economic revitalization. Vocabulary: ramp up, phrasal verb, meaning to increase or strengthen preparation. Example: the automobile factory is rapidly ramping up its production lines to meet the sudden global surge in demand. Comprehensive, adjective, meaning comprehensive or all-inclusive. Example: the independent committee published a highly comprehensive report thoroughly detailing the severe environmental impacts. Showcase, verb, meaning to showcase or exhibit. Example: the annual film festival beautifully showcases the extraordinary creative talents of young local independent musicians and directors. Commission, verb, meaning to commission or order. Example: the ambitious city mayor formally commissioned a famous international artist to paint the massive historical portrait. Expansive, adjective, meaning expansive or wide-ranging. Example: the newly built luxury hotel offers an incredibly expansive and breathtaking view of the beautiful blue ocean. Vibrant, adjective, meaning vibrant or full of life. Example: the bustling downtown area is widely known for its extremely vibrant and diverse late-night entertainment scene. Multicultural, adjective, meaning multicultural. Example: Toronto is globally celebrated as a highly vibrant, welcoming, and deeply multicultural modern metropolis. Once in a generation, adjective, meaning once in a generation or extremely rare. Example: this massive and unexpected economic boom is widely considered a highly rare, once-in-a-generation financial phenomenon. Surpass, verb, meaning to surpass or exceed. Example: her brilliant theatrical performance absolutely surpassed all of our incredibly high initial artistic expectations. Executive, noun and adjective, meaning executive, referring to management or a senior official. Example: the strict executive board will finally vote on the highly controversial proposed corporate merger early tomorrow morning. Catalyst, noun, meaning catalyst or spark for change. Example: the massive new government investment will act as a powerful catalyst for rapid regional economic growth. Revitalization, noun, meaning revitalization or bringing new life to something. Example: the ambitious urban renewal project aims at the total revitalization of the completely abandoned and decayed industrial district. Current affairs term explanation. Commission. This refers to the act of formally requesting and paying for the creation of an artwork, a large-scale architectural design, or a professional research study. In news reports, it is frequently used when government agencies or large corporations initiate public projects or specific investigations. In this text, it is used to mean that a local business association commissioned and sponsored the creation of a large-scale artwork to build excitement for the World Cup. 2-2. Trump lawyers refuse to reveal financial info in BBC defamation case. High-profile lawyers vigorously representing former U.S. President Donald Trump are vehemently refusing to legally disclose specific, sensitive financial information in his ongoing high-stakes defamation lawsuit against the BBC. Trump's aggressive legal team has explicitly accused the respected British broadcaster of intentionally and maliciously defaming him by distorting and manipulating his speech in a controversial 2024 political documentary. During the mandatory legal discovery process, the BBC formally requested highly detailed financial records regarding the opaque Donald J. Trump revocable trust to accurately assess actual monetary damages. In fierce response, Trump's seasoned attorneys have rapidly motioned to strategically delay the proceedings and forcefully remove the overseeing magistrate judge, boldly alleging severe political bias. The BBC firmly and completely rejected any valid legal basis for a defamation claim, openly stating the highly unusual requests for judicial recusal were made without any grounds whatsoever. The bitter legal conflict effectively highlights the growing, intense friction between powerful politicians and global journalistic institutions. Vocabulary: vehemently. Adverb: the prime suspect vehemently and continuously denied the terrible murder accusations made against him. Disclose. Verb: public companies are strictly required by federal law to accurately disclose their environmental and financial impacts. Defamation. Noun: the famous celebrity furiously filed a massive, multi-million-dollar defamation suit against the lying tabloid. Maliciously. Adverb: the dangerous computer software was maliciously designed by hackers to quietly steal users' personal financial data. Manipulate. Verb: the complex federal investigation proved conclusively that the corporation illegally manipulated its official financial records. Discovery. Noun: the completely hidden, secret emails were finally uncovered during the exhausting legal discovery process. Assess. Verb: the professional insurance adjuster will arrive tomorrow morning to carefully assess the terrible hurricane storm damage. Attorney. Noun: you have the absolute constitutional right to speak with a qualified attorney before answering police questions. Allege. Verb: the aggressive state prosecutor loudly alleged that the city mayor regularly received large bribes from local building contractors. Recusal. Noun: the smart defense team requested the biased judge's immediate recusal due to an obvious conflict of interest. Opaque. Adjective: the secretive corporation's extremely opaque financial accounting practices immediately raised suspicions among tax investigators. Friction. Noun: the newly proposed controversial labor laws caused intense and immediate friction between the workers and the management. 2-3. EBU unveils nominees for Technology and Innovation Awards 2026. The esteemed European Broadcasting Union, EBU, has officially and proudly unveiled the 13 highly prestigious nominees for its globally recognized 2026 Technology and Innovation Awards. The final, highly anticipated winners are formally scheduled to be announced during the upcoming massive EBU T&I Summit held in Barcelona this June. This year, the overarching and dominant themes explicitly defining the nominated projects focus heavily on the seamless integration of artificial intelligence, advanced virtual production, and highly scalable cloud-based content management. Additionally, robust and eco-friendly sustainable production methodologies have surprisingly garnered significant, widespread attention from the expert judging panel. For instance, the prominent UK broadcaster ITV rightfully earned multiple impressive nominations for brilliantly deploying innovative hybrid power systems utilizing second-life EV batteries combined with clean solar power.
Meanwhile, the renowned BBC was highly recognized for resourcefully training a specialized machine learning model to automatically and accurately detect subtle audio distortion on live radio broadcasts. The awards highlight a clear industry pivot towards green technology and AI automation. Vocabulary. Unveil. Verb. The global tech giant will grandly unveil its highly secretive and latest flagship smartphone model next Tuesday. Prestigious. Adjective. The talented young author finally won a highly prestigious international literary scholarship to study at Oxford University. Overarching. Adjective. The truly overarching and primary goal of the massive government project is to quickly reduce dangerous urban carbon emissions. Integration. Noun. The rapid, seamless integration of advanced AI into daily healthcare is totally revolutionizing patient diagnosis methods. Scalable. Adjective. The startup developed a highly scalable and fast cloud computing software that grows alongside the business. Sustainable. Adjective. We absolutely need to develop strict sustainable agricultural practices to properly protect the fragile topsoil for the future. Methodology. Noun. The brilliant researchers clearly explained the highly complex scientific methodology behind their impressive statistical analysis. Garner. Verb. The extremely low-budget independent film surprisingly garnered massive critical acclaim at the huge international movie festival. Deploy. Verb. The wise general quickly decided to massively deploy fresh, well-trained troops to the highly vulnerable northern border area. Distortion. Noun. Playing music at incredibly high volumes can cause severe and permanent audio distortion in standard cheap speakers. Pivot. Noun/verb. The failing retail company made a desperate and sudden strategic pivot towards online digital e-commerce. Resourceful. Adjective.
The highly resourceful project manager always cleverly finds an effective solution to unexpected budget problems. Sustainable, ESG, production methodologies. 3. ABC Australia. 3-1. Coalition and Greens in talks over Labour tax changes. Australia's traditionally conservative coalition is deliberately leaving the political door wide open to strategically striking a highly unconventional deal with the left-leaning Greens Party. This completely unexpected potential alliance strictly aims to legally extend a parliamentary inquiry into the ruling Labour government's newly proposed and highly controversial tax changes. These specific economic reforms, recently announced to the public in the highly debated federal budget, surprisingly passed the lower house without a single amendment being made. The divisive legislative proposal is now rapidly heading to the crucial Senate, where the current government nervously does not hold an absolute voting majority. A fundamentally different and responsible direction is urgently required, noted one senior opposition figure, clearly highlighting the intense and bitter domestic fiscal debate. This surprising willingness to actively cooperate across vast and deep ideological divides perfectly illustrates the incredibly critical economic stakes involved in passing this specific national legislation. Vocabulary. Coalition. Noun. 연합, 제휴, 호주의 보수 야당 연합. The rival political parties temporarily formed a fragile coalition to completely defeat the dangerous common enemy. Unconventional. Adjective. 이례적인, 관습에 얽매이지 않는. The brilliant young artist is widely known for his highly unconventional and weird approach to modern sculpture. Inquiry. Noun. 조사, 수사. A massive public inquiry was officially launched to meticulously investigate the hidden causes of the tragic bridge collapse accident. Reform. Noun/verb. 개혁, 개선, 개혁하다. The newly elected government is promising sweeping, fundamentally defined reforms to fix the severely struggling national healthcare system. Amendment. Noun. 수정, 개정. The senior senator strongly proposed a significant and necessary amendment to the pending controversial environmental bill. Legislative. Adjective. 입법에. The incredibly complex legislative process can very often be extremely slow and heavily burdened by bureaucratic red tape. Absolute majority. Noun phrase. 절대 과반수. The arrogant ruling party shockingly lost its absolute majority in the recent highly contested midterm parliamentary elections. Fundamentally. Adverb. 근본적으로. The invention of the fast internet has fundamentally and permanently changed the entire way we safely access and share information. Ideological.
Adjective. 이념적인, 사상적인. The heated television debate was strictly and sharply divided along very deep traditional ideological lines. Stakes. Noun. 내기, 투자 등에서 걸린 돈, 이해관계. The long-term political stakes are incredibly and dangerously high in this upcoming tight presidential race. Divisive. Adjective. 분열을 초래하는, 갈등을 일으키는. The mayor's highly divisive public comments instantly caused huge fights among the previously peaceful local citizens. Deliberate. Adjective, verb. 고의적인, 신중한, 숙고하다. The sneaky politician made a very deliberate and calculated choice to completely ignore the difficult reporter's question. 기사용어 해설. Absolute majority, 절대 과반수, and lower house, senate, 하원, 상원. 민주주의 양원제 의회에서 하원, lower house, 인구 비례로 선출되어 국민을 대표하며 예산안과 법안의 1차 통과를 담당한다. 상원, senate, 각 주나 지역을 대표하여 하원의 법안을 견제하고 수정하는 역할을 한다. 호주 정치에서 집권당, 노동당이 하원을 장악하여 법안을 무수동 통과시켰더라도 상원에서 절대 과반수, 전체 의석의 50% 초과를 점하지 못하면 야당 연합과 제3당, 녹색당의 연대만으로도 법안 통과가 좌절될 수 있다. 정치에서 stakes, 판돈 이해관계가 크다는 것은 그만큼 이 법안이 국가 경제에 미치는 파급력이 막대함을 의미한다. 3.2. The Ocean Cleanup forged strategic alliance to purge plastic waste. The highly prominent global environmental nonprofit organization, the Ocean Cleanup, has officially and proudly forged a major strategic alliance squarely aimed at completely purging massive amounts of plastic waste from critical, heavily polluted waterways. This ambitious new international agreement desperately seeks to permanently halt hundreds of tons of hazardous, toxic plastic debris before it can ever deeply reach the fragile open Pacific Ocean. The entire massive initiative heavily and confidently relies on the rapid, widespread deployment of cutting-edge advanced technology, specifically utilizing the highly innovative autonomous interceptor systems. These incredible technological interventions have very recently hit major environmental milestones with highly successful large-scale rollouts in some of the world's most heavily polluted urban rivers. Giant corporate logistical partners, such as major automakers, have also excitedly renewed their massive financial and logistical sponsorships to further solidly support these incredibly expansive and expensive cleanup operations. Ultimately, the overarching and ultimate humanitarian mission is to realistically visualize and physically execute a completely clean, plastic-free marine ecosystem globally for future generations. Vocabulary. Forge. Verb. The two bitter tech rivals surprisingly managed to quietly forge a highly profitable and stable business partnership. Alliance. Noun. The powerful international military alliance has strictly kept the unstable region peaceful for over 50 quiet years. Purge. Verb. The ruthless new corporate CEO cruelly decided to immediately purge the entire company of all incompetent middle managers. Halt. Verb. The blindingly heavy winter snowfall violently forced the busy city airport to completely halt all departing and arriving flights. Hazardous. Adjective. All factory workers must absolutely wear thick protective gear when carefully handling these highly hazardous industrial chemicals. Debris. Noun. The exhausted rescue teams are still desperately searching deeply through the massive smoking debris of the collapsed apartment building. Deployment. Noun. The incredibly quick military deployment of massive emergency medical resources easily saved countless innocent lives. Milestone. Noun. Finally graduating from the incredibly tough medical school was a truly major, life-changing milestone in her young life. Logistical. Adjective. Safely distributing the sensitive virus vaccine globally poses immense and truly complicated logistical shipping challenges.
Marine. Adjective. Fragile coral reefs are absolutely vital natural ecosystems that gently support a wide, colorful variety of marine life. Autonomous. Adjective. The tech company successfully tested a fully autonomous driving car that flawlessly navigated busy city traffic without human help. Humanitarian. Adjective.
The brave doctors joined a dangerous international humanitarian mission to immediately help poor victims of the terrible civil war. Logistical. Interceptor. Logistics. Number 3. 3. Prince Reza Pahlavi's European tour. Prince Reza Pahlavi's highly publicized and controversial recent European tour has instantly ignited fierce, passionate debates regarding the highly uncertain political future of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Dedicated conservative supporters nostalgically view the pre-1979 Pahlavi royal monarchy as a lost, glorious golden era of rapid modernization, strict secularism, and robust economic vitality. Conversely, vehement and angry progressive critics vividly recall the dark period's brutal political repression and express deep, genuine anxiety over any potential terrifying restoration of unyielding authoritarian rule. Despite the loud, aggressive controversies generated by extremely radical fringe monarchist groups, Pahlavi himself has consistently and calmly advocated for fundamental democratic, peaceful values. In numerous extensive international media interviews, he explicitly and repeatedly clarified that he absolutely does not seek to forcefully seize absolute political power. Iranians themselves should determine whether the future state is a republic or a constitutional monarchy through a fair referendum and free elections, he firmly and politely insisted. His tour exposes the deep ideological divisions within the Iranian diaspora. Vocabulary. Ignite. Verb. The controversial Supreme Court ruling immediately ignited massive, fiery nationwide political protests. Nostalgically. Adverb. The lonely elderly man spoke nostalgically and sadly about his joyful, simple childhood in the countryside. Secularism. Noun. The Republic's strict constitutional adherence to secularism totally separates all state policies from any religious doctrine. Vitality. Noun. Regular, intense daily exercise and a deeply healthy diet can greatly and visibly improve your physical vitality. Conversely, adverb. Some enjoy the busy, noisy city life. Conversely, others strongly prefer the quiet, peaceful countryside. Repression. Noun. The brutal authoritarian regime maintained its absolute iron power through totally violent political repression. Restoration. Noun. The incredibly costly physical restoration of the beautiful historical cathedral will take several long, hard decades. Authoritarian. Adjective/noun. The suffering country is groaning under the heavy, bloody hand of a truly brutal authoritarian government. Explicit. Adjective. The strict teacher gave the young students incredibly explicit and detailed instructions on how to complete the hard assignment. Referendum. Noun. The highly controversial national tax policy will be firmly and finally decided by a public national referendum next week. Diaspora. Noun. The vast Jewish diaspora has successfully maintained its deeply rich cultural identity across numerous distinct global continents. Fringe. Noun/adjective. The crazy political idea is only supported by a very tiny, extremely radical fringe group of strange activists. Secularism. And diaspora. Wa Bushab. Ayatollah's theocracy. Egypt 1979 simulated a European tour. Dedicated K as a form of life. Explicit clearly stated. 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 The Korea Times. 4. 1. Mayor Oh Se-hoon secures a historic 5th term. Incumbent Mayor Oh Se-hoon of the ruling conservative People Power Party has successfully and dramatically secured a truly historic 5th mayoral term following an incredibly fiercely competitive and exhausting race in the 2026 South Korean local elections. Oh miraculously managed to very narrowly defeat prominent Democratic Party challenger Chung Won-oh in a highly stunning, nail-biting, come-from-behind victory. Initial, highly anticipated joint exit polls, officially released by the three major terrestrial broadcasters, had actually surprisingly placed Chong ahead by a significant margin, creating immense, palpable political tension throughout the entire anxious evening. However, Oh calmly and steadily erased the daunting vote deficit during the agonizing, prolonged final hours of early morning ballot counting. In his deeply emotional and tired victory speech, Oh humbly stated, "I express my absolute deep respect and endless gratitude to the great citizens who have preserved the vital balance of true democracy in the very name of Seoul." His remarkable re-election powerfully consolidates the currently struggling ruling party's vital administrative and political grip on the sprawling capital city. Vocabulary: secure, verb. The highly efficient marketing team finally successfully secured a massive, lucrative contract with the global tech giant. Historic, adjective. The peaceful signing of the new border peace treaty was a truly historic and joyful moment for both rival nations. Fiercely, adverb. The two massive, dominant tech companies have been fiercely and brutally competing for global consumer market share. Narrowly, adverb. The highly controversial tax bill very narrowly passed the divided Senate by an incredibly tiny margin of only 2 votes. Come from behind, adjective. The battered underdog sports team totally thrilled the screaming fans with a spectacular, shocking come-from-behind victory. Palpable, adjective. The extreme fear and panic in the dork room was completely real and almost physically palpable to everyone inside. Deficit, noun. The desperate national government is horribly struggling to dramatically and quickly reduce its massive annual budget deficit. Prolonged, adjective. Direct exposure to the harsh, burning sun for a prolonged period of time can severely and permanently damage your skin. Preserve, verb. The dedicated environmental group fought incredibly hard to bravely preserve the ancient sacred forest from illegal logging companies. Consolidate, verb. The recent huge corporate merger will greatly and solidly consolidate the successful company's leading dominant position in the industry. Incumbent, adjective, noun. The highly popular incumbent mayor easily and overwhelmingly defeated all of his weak political challengers in the recent election. Agonizing, adjective. Waiting anxiously for the final critical medical test results was a truly agonizing and terrifying experience for the whole family. Deficit. Come from behind. Deficit. Erase the deficit. Come from behind victory. 4-2. Iran demanding Trump impose conditions on Israel. The leadership in Iran is boldly and actively demanding that U.S. President Donald Trump impose exceptionally strict military conditions on Israel before Tehran will ever formally agree to any comprehensive regional peace deal. Specifically, top Iranian diplomats are aggressively insisting that Israel must immediately and permanently end the severe, bloody escalation of its aerial bombing attacks against militant positions deeply embedded in Lebanon. This rigid diplomatic demand comes in direct response to the constant, deafening daily bombardment involving heavily armed Hezbollah fighters and aggressive Israeli defense forces across the tense border. Meanwhile, numerous highly reliable news sources are rapidly reporting escalating explosive political tensions occurring directly between Washington and Tel Aviv. Trump reportedly completely lost his temper and lashed out fiercely at the defiant Israeli prime minister during a highly contentious, obscenity-laced phone call, starkly highlighting deep, unprecedented strategic fractures between the traditional allies. This incredibly intricate and dangerous geopolitical balancing act now seriously threatens to completely and totally derail the already fragile Middle Eastern peace process. Vocabulary: impose. Verb, meaning to impose, force, or inflict. The angry UN Security Council quickly decided to blindly impose strict, crushing economic sanctions on the rogue nuclear state. Strict, adjective, meaning strict, stern, or rigorous. The old-fashioned boarding school enforces very strict, old rules regarding student uniforms and polite daily behavior. Comprehensive,
Adjective, meaning comprehensive, all-inclusive, or thorough.
The Special Scientific Committee finally published a highly comprehensive, thick report detailing the terrible global environmental impacts. Insist. Verb, meaning to insist, persist, or strongly assert. The totally dissatisfied, angry customer loudly insisted on speaking directly and immediately with the senior general manager. Bombardment. Noun, meaning bombardment, shelling, or assault. The beautiful ancient capital city suffered incredibly heavily under the ruthless, relentless daily aerial bombardment. Numerous. Adjective, meaning numerous, many, or diverse. There are completely numerous, highly compelling scientific reasons why we should deeply invest in clean, renewable energy. Contentious. Adjective, meaning contentious, controversial, or argumentative. Legalizing abortion remains a highly, incredibly contentious, and deeply emotional political issue in many modern democratic societies. Fracture. Noun or verb, meaning a fracture, break, split, or to rupture. The shocking, ongoing financial political scandal has caused a very deep, unfixable fracture within the ruling Conservative Party. Intricate. Adjective, meaning intricate, complex, or detailed. The valuable antique golden clock features an incredibly intricate and delicate mechanical design hidden beautifully inside. Derail. Verb, meaning to derail, ruin, or obstruct. A sudden, massive drop in global research funding could completely and tragically derail the vital medical scientific project. Defiant. Adjective, meaning defiant, rebellious, or bold. The angry teenager gave a very defiant and disrespectful look to the strict police officer who stopped him. Obscenity-laced. Adjective, meaning filled with obscenities, profanity, or vulgar language. The completely drunk man started a terrible, obscenity-laced screaming argument right in the middle of the quiet family restaurant. Key terminology explanation: contentious and derail. Contentious refers to a topic or situation that easily causes strong disagreement and arguments among people. In international relations, a contentious phone call between two world leaders goes beyond a simple disagreement, signifying a harsh call involving shouting or severe diplomatic conflict. Derail originates from a train going off its tracks, serving as a perfect metaphorical expression to describe a situation where smoothly progressing peace negotiations or business plans are completely ruined and fail due to critical external obstacles. Number 4. 3. Final tally for local elections completed after voting disruptions. The highly anticipated final vote count for the fiercely and bitterly contested South Korean nationwide local elections was officially and finally completed only after experiencing significant, chaotic procedural disruptions. A completely unexpected and severe shortage of physical printed ballot papers on the actual election day caused massive, incredibly frustrating voting delays across more than a dozen crowded polling stations in the capital, Seoul. Stressed election officials could only officially declare the true final tally after successfully processing the delayed results from two heavily guarded, highly controversial ballot boxes. These crucial boxes were counted extremely belatedly due to an intense physical human blockade staged aggressively by frustrated citizens and furious political activists, loudly protesting the terrible logistical mismanagement. This totally unprecedented, embarrassing administrative fiasco has naturally drawn fierce, unyielding public criticism from all political sides. Protest over ballot shortage steadily continues even after voting disruptions, local news media heavily and constantly reported, highlighting the deeply lingering democratic trauma. The incident demands immediate structural reform. Vocabulary. Tally. Noun. The official, final, hand-counted tally definitively revealed that the Progressive Opposition Party won the tight national election. Procedural. Adjective. The crucial, damning forensic evidence was unfortunately dismissed in criminal court simply due to a very minor procedural error. Disruption. Noun.
The heavy, unexpected winter blizzard caused truly massive and dangerous disruption to the city's entire public transportation network. Ballot. Noun. Millions of hopeful citizens securely and quietly cast their paper ballots in the highly anticipated Democratic presidential election. Belatedly. Adverb. He deeply and belatedly realized his terrible, foolish mistake and sincerely apologized in tears to everyone he hurt. Blockade. Noun. The striking, angry union transport workers formed a huge, impassable physical blockade entirely across the main national highway. Frustrated. Adjective. The totally exhausted and frustrated passengers waited angrily for several hours for their heavily delayed, overbooked overnight flight. Mismanagement. Noun. Many years of severe, unchecked financial mismanagement eventually and sadly led directly to the giant historic corporation's bankruptcy. Unprecedented. Adjective. The extreme, suffocating summer heat wave brought absolutely unprecedented and terrifyingly high temperatures to the usually cool northern region. Fiasco. Noun. The poorly planned and terribly organized outdoor music festival quickly turned into an absolute dangerous logistical fiasco. Chaotic. Adjective. The scene at the crowded hospital emergency room was completely chaotic immediately following the massive downtown train crash. Unyielding. Adjective. Despite facing totally overwhelming political pressure, the brave judge maintained an absolutely unyielding and strict commitment to the law. Fiasco.
Five. The Korea Herald. 5.1. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang and Faker meet, celebrate mutual rise. NVIDIA's highly charismatic CEO, Jensen Huang, excitedly kicked off his highly anticipated, busy 5-day corporate visit to South Korea with a completely surprise, energetic appearance at a heavily populated, popular PC bang in downtown Seoul. There, amidst cheering crowds, he personally and warmly met with the globally legendary esports player Lee "Faker" Sang-hyuk and the rest of the fiercely renowned T1 League of Legends starting roster. During the event, Hwang deeply and sincerely credited Korea's incredibly vibrant, unique gaming and internet cafe culture for fundamentally launching and accelerating NVIDIA's highly profitable, world-dominating GeForce graphics card business. He insightfully noted that the fierce, obsessive drive of young Korean players to constantly win consistently pushed the extreme global demand for absolutely superior computer technological performance. To generously celebrate with the wildly enthusiastic, packed crowd, Hwang surprisingly raffled off highly coveted, totally unreleased advanced technology, including the revolutionary RTX Spark laptop device. Korea was the incredible country that not only made gaming popular, but also literally invented spectating the game, Hwang remarked passionately to loud applause. The event perfectly bridged the gap between silicon manufacturing and youth digital culture.
Vocabulary. Kick off. Phrasal verb. The aggressive political candidates will officially and loudly kick off their massive national campaign tomorrow morning. Legendary. Adjective. The truly legendary, aging jazz musician will passionately and flawlessly perform his final live concert tonight. Renowned. Adjective. The ancient European city is globally renowned for its deeply rich, well-preserved, and incredibly diverse cultural history. Roster. Noun. The struggling baseball team smartly added 3 highly talented, fast new rookies to its competitive starting roster. Credit A for B. Phrasal verb. The highly successful, wealthy author humbly credited her incredibly supportive parents for sparking her early passion for writing. Fundamentally. Adverb. The shocking discovery of cheap antibiotics fundamentally and forever changed the entire landscape of modern human medicine. Consistent. Adjective. To see real, lasting physical progress, you must apply a completely consistent and highly disciplined daily workout effort. Raffle. Verb/noun. The small local charity will generously raffle off a beautiful brand new electric car to quickly raise essential funds. Unreleased. Adjective. 5-2.
NVIDIA CEO toasts Korea partners over BBQ soju. Immediately following his energetic esports event, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang smoothly hosted a highly informal, yet incredibly strategic and powerful dinner with some of South Korea's absolute most influential and wealthy business magnates. This highly exclusive, intimate gathering surprisingly took place at a very traditional, noisy pork belly barbecue restaurant located right in the middle of the extremely bustling and youthful Hongdae neighborhood. Prominent corporate leaders, prominently including SK Group Chairman Chae Tae-won, LG Group Chairman Koo Kwang-mo, and Naver founder Lee Hae-jin, cheerfully shared cheap local soju and cold beer with the billionaire Huang. This totally unconventional, relaxed meeting heavily highlights South Korea's undeniably unchangeable central and utterly indispensable role in fueling NVIDIA's incredibly expansive global AI technological ambitions. During the meal, Huang explicitly cited the country's truly unparalleled manufacturing strengths in producing advanced memory chips and building modern, massive AI infrastructure networks. This brilliant display of casual culinary diplomacy strongly and permanently solidifies the tight-knit, reliable supply chain strictly required for ensuring NVIDIA's future global technological dominance. Vocabulary: informal, adjective. The friendly manager easily organized a highly informal, relaxing team meeting over a casual Friday lunch. Magnate, noun. The incredibly wealthy old real estate magnate secretly and quickly purchased a huge private tropical island. Exclusive, adjective. The incredibly expensive luxury resort offers a highly exclusive and totally private white sandy beach for its wealthy VIP guests. Bustling, adjective. The vibrant, colorful street night market is constantly bustling with highly enthusiastic, hungry local shoppers and tourists. Prominent, adjective. Several extremely prominent Nobel-winning scientists warmly attended the massive International Climate Change Conference in Paris. Undeniably, adverb. Her natural, effortless talent for playing the classical piano is simply and undeniably impressive to anyone listening. Unparalleled, adjective. The Grand National Museum contains a totally unparalleled, priceless collection of perfectly preserved ancient Roman artifacts. Infrastructure, noun. Developing completely reliable, lightning-fast digital infrastructure is absolutely essential for building a modern, highly efficient smart city. Culinary, adjective. The highly acclaimed, passionate French chef masterfully demonstrated his extraordinary culinary skills on live national television. Solidify, verb. The newly signed comprehensive peace treaty will effectively and permanently solidify friendly international relations for decades to come. Intimate, adjective. The famous movie star preferred a very small, quiet, and highly intimate wedding ceremony with only close family. Indispensable, adjective. An extraordinary useful coworker is absolutely essential for building a modern, highly efficient smart city. A highly reliable, fast internet connection has become absolutely indispensable for managing any modern remote business successfully. Magnate, IT. Culinary diplomacy, CEO. Com, Co. 5-3. NEC chair offers to resign over ballot fiasco. The embattled chairperson and the Chief Secretary General of the National Election Commission, NEC, have officially and publicly offered to resign in deep disgrace following the absolutely disastrous ballot paper shortage. This catastrophic, deeply humiliating administrative failure carelessly caused massive, uncontrollable voting disruptions across the nation during the highly contested, crucial national local elections. Countless angry, completely disenfranchised voters were physically unable to cast their legal ballots efficiently, directly leading to fierce, loud street protests and overwhelming nationwide outrage. The totally unprecedented, shocking logistical mismanagement has profoundly and severely damaged fragile public trust in the fundamental core electoral system of the country. By humbly stepping down from their powerful positions, the top NEC officials are desperately attempting to take full, absolute public accountability for the massive logistical fiasco. Seasoned political experts strongly argue that a comprehensive, totally transparent structural overhaul of the agency is immediately necessary to effectively prevent any future democratic disruptions of this massive scale.
Vocabulary. Resign. Verb. 사임하다, 물러나다. The deeply ashamed CEO was forcibly pressured to resign heavily and immediately due to the major corporate financial scandal. Disastrous. Adjective. 처참한, 재난해. The company's extremely disastrous, terribly planned marketing campaign resulted in massive, unrecoverable financial losses. Shortage. Noun. 부족, 결핍. A sudden, severe global shortage of essential computer microchips severely and entirely halted all international automobile production. Catastrophic. Adjective. 대재앙의, 파멸적인. The intense, fast-moving Category 5 hurricane caused truly catastrophic, permanent damage to the beautiful, historic coastal towns. Efficiently. Adverb. 효율적으로. The new, fully automated robotic warehouse system consistently processes thousands of heavy online orders very quickly and efficiently. Outrage. Noun. 분노, 격분하게 만들다. The extremely unfair, obviously biased court verdict instantly sparked widespread, violent public trust in the entire divided country. Profoundly. Adverb. 깊이, 심오하게. The inspiring, kind older mentor profoundly and permanently influenced my future difficult career choices and personal moral growth. Fundamental. Adjective. 근본적인, 기본적인.
Freedom of pure, uncensored speech is an absolutely fundamental, unalienable human right in any healthy, functioning modern democracy. Accountability. Noun. 책임, 의무. The completely independent, thorough outside audit effectively ensured strict financial accountability within the highly secretive government agency. Overhaul. Noun/verb. 철저한 점검, 개편, 점검하다. The severely outdated, useless educational public curriculum needs a total, immediate, and comprehensive structural overhaul by top experts. Embattled. Adjective. 궁지에 몰린, 공세에 시달리는. The deeply embattled prime minister desperately tried to defend his failing economic policies against fierce opposition attacks. Disenfranchise. Verb. 권리, 특히 선거권을 박탈하다. The controversial new strict voter ID laws threaten to completely disenfranchise thousands of poor, elderly minority citizens. 시사용어 해설. Accountability, 책임, 투명성, and disenfranchise, 선거권 박탈. Accountability는 단순한 의무, responsibility를 넘어 자신이 한 중대한 공적 일이나 결정에 대해 그 결과를 온전히 감수하고 대중에게 투명하게 설명 및 사죄해야 하는 고차원적인 책임을 의미한다. disenfranchise는 민주주의에 꽂힌 선거에서 시민이 마땅히 행사해야 할 투표권을 법적 혹은 행정적 오류, 투표용지 부족 등으로 인해 물리적으로 빼앗기는 상태를 가리키는 매우 무거운 정치, 법률 용어이다. 선관위 수장들의 사퇴는 이러한 민주주의의 근간이 훼손된 데 대한 최고 수준의 accountability를 보여주는 행위이다. 6. CGTN 6-1 U.S. House passes resolution to limit Trump's Iran war powers. The heavily divided U.S. House of Representatives has decisively and boldly passed a formal, binding legislative resolution specifically designed to severely limit President Donald Trump's unchecked authority to wage ongoing war against Iran. In a highly consequential, razor-thin 215-208 vote, the lower legislative body successfully dealt a massive, stinging political blow to the Trump administration's notoriously aggressive foreign military policy. The controversial resolution essentially and strictly mandates that the active president must legally secure explicit congressional approval before unilaterally escalating any further deadly military force abroad. This stunning vote marks a historically rare and highly significant instance where lawmakers have effectively and courageously moved to actively constrain unilateral presidential war powers. The bloody conflict, now entering its exhausting fourth month, has rapidly become a substantial, heavy political liability domestically for the Republican Party. Consequently, deep voter concerns over rising daily living costs are now heavily and loudly outweighing the administration's aggressive arguments for national security.
The deep rift between the White House and Capitol Hill is widening. Vocabulary. Decisively. Adverb. The highly experienced, brave combat general decisively and loudly ordered the immediate, life-saving strategic retreat. Resolution. Noun. The divided United Nations finally, firmly passed a strict, binding resolution strongly condemning the cruel, unprovoked invasion. Authority. Noun. The simple local police absolutely lack the proper legal federal authority to forcefully enforce strict national immigration laws. Blow. Noun. The sudden, terrifying global economic recession quickly dealt a severe, crushing financial blow to the fragile, struggling tourism industry. Mandate. Verb/noun. The newly passed progressive federal law strictly and clearly mandates equal fair pay for equal hard work. Constrain. Verb. The extremely strict financial corporate budget heavily constrained our ambitious ability to massively expand the ongoing new research project. Unilateral. Adjective. The powerful, arrogant nation made a highly controversial, selfish, unilateral decision to immediately withdraw from the crucial global peace treaty. Substantial. Adjective. The highly diligent university researcher finally found truly substantial, undeniable evidence fully supporting his crazy, controversial scientific theory. Liability. Noun. His extremely careless, offensive public political remarks have quickly become a huge, dangerous liability for the ongoing difficult election campaign. Outweigh. Verb cursive and cursive. The massive long-term economic benefits of building the new fast railway clearly outweigh the incredibly high initial construction costs. Explicitly. Adverb.
The updated software user manual explicitly and repeatedly warns against trying to open the dangerous electrical cover yourself. Unchecked. Adjective. The greedy corporation's completely unchecked, massive pollution is rapidly destroying the beautiful local river ecosystem. Unilateral and resolution. Lateral. Unilateral. Resolution. War powers resolution. Number 6. 2. Chinese VP calls for deeper China-Belarus trade investment. Chinese Vice President Han Zheng has explicitly, loudly, and very publicly called for much deeper and vastly more expansive trade and bilateral investment cooperation to firmly bridge China and Belarus. While confidently delivering his keynote speech at a massive, crowded industrial and investment forum held in Minsk, Han emphatically highlighted the remarkably strong, unstoppable economic momentum currently defining their warm bilateral relations. He proudly and factually noted that their mutual, thriving trade volume in the year 2025 was surprisingly nearly 150 times greater than the tiny figures recorded shortly after the two friendly nations first forged diplomatic ties over 3 decades ago. The massive flagship China-Belarus industrial park has already successfully and impressively attracted 178 powerful international enterprises, effectively and directly driving much-needed local economic and social development. Moving aggressively forward, he strongly urged both allied countries to closely align their broad national development strategies and vigorously advance high-quality, continuous Belt and Road global cooperation. This alliance aims to create a powerful economic buffer against Western sanctions. Vocabulary. Explicitly. Adverb. The thick safety manual explicitly and clearly warns untrained workers against operating the huge, dangerous heavy machine alone. Expansive. Adjective. The visionary, brilliant young architect designed a truly expansive, incredibly beautiful modern public park for the city. Emphatically. Adverb. She emphatically, angrily, and repeatedly denied all the vicious fake rumors spreading rapidly around the gossipy office. Momentum. Noun. The highly energetic, positive political campaign quickly gained incredible, unstoppable momentum immediately after the successful TV debate. Bilateral. Adjective. The two neighboring friendly countries finally signed a historic, massively profitable bilateral free trade agreement yesterday. Mutual. Adjective. The highly successful long-term business partnership was completely and fully based on deep mutual respect and unshakable trust. Flagship. Noun/adjective. The newly designed advanced electric car is absolutely the smart company's newest and most profitable flagship luxury product. Enterprise. Noun. The heavily funded, massive state enterprise effectively and completely controls the entire developing nation's lucrative energy sector. Align. Verb.
The complex, brand new software must strictly and perfectly align with our existing rigid corporate security protocols. Vigorously, adverb. The smart defense lawyer vigorously and passionately argued for his completely innocent client's immediate, unconditional release from jail. Buffer, noun. Setting up a solid emergency savings account acts as a great financial buffer against sudden, unexpected job loss. Keynote, noun, / adjective. The famous tech billionaire delivered a highly inspiring, visionary keynote speech at the massive global software developer conference. Belt and Road, and buffer, and buffer, and
6.3. China announces over 100 events to boost imports. China's powerful Ministry of Commerce proudly announced that over 100 highly strategic, carefully planned events strictly aimed at significantly and rapidly boosting the massive nation's global imports will be held continuously throughout the year 2026. These incredibly extensive, glittering international exhibitions are fundamentally and intelligently designed to introduce a much wider, richer variety of top-tier, high-quality global goods directly to eager Chinese commercial enterprises and domestic everyday consumers. The grand, highly anticipated inaugural overseas promotional event is strictly scheduled to take place very soon in allied Belarus, closely and quickly followed by another major, massive commercial exhibition in Berlin, Germany. This crucial German event will proudly and boldly mark the ambitious trade initiative's highly anticipated official debut squarely within the wealthy European Union market. Official ministry spokespersons confidently stated that the overarching, powerful theme, cleverly titled Exports to China, will effectively and quickly build robust, highly profitable business bridges for ambitious international companies desperately seeking to deeply expand their lucrative market presence in China. The initiative showcases China's aggressive attempt to stimulate domestic consumption. Vocabulary, strategic, adjective. The brilliant, battle-hardened military general planned a highly clever strategic night withdrawal to safely save his remaining tired troops. Boost, verb, noun. The massive, sudden national tax cut was specifically and carefully designed to effectively boost low local consumer spending. Extensive, adjective. The terribly heavy, violent hurricane storm caused truly extensive and terrible permanent damage to the expensive coastal properties. Inaugural, adjective. The newly elected, highly popular progressive president delivered an incredibly inspiring, emotional inaugural public address to the cheering nation. Debut, noun, verb. The talented, nervous young actress made a totally spectacular, flawless debut on the famous bright Broadway theater stage. Spokesperson, noun. The official, highly trained government spokesperson firmly and politely refused to answer the difficult, probing political questions from aggressive reporters. Overarching, adjective. The truly overarching, absolute number one priority of the new struggling administration is to quickly and safely lower sky-high inflation. Robust, adjective. The thriving, innovative tech company reported exceptionally robust, record-breaking financial growth in the highly competitive third quarter. Lucrative, adjective. The extremely smart, calculating investor secured a highly lucrative, multi-million-dollar commercial real estate deal right in downtown New York. Presence, noun. The giant global clothing brand is aggressively and quickly expanding its massive digital retail presence in the booming Asian market. Stimulate, verb. The central bank decided to massively lower interest rates to desperately stimulate the deeply frozen, sluggish housing market. Commercial, adjective, noun. The busy, crowded downtown avenue is packed with huge, towering commercial office buildings and extremely expensive luxury retail stores. Lucrative, lucra, add, 14, lucrative market, add. 7. NHK World Japan 7.1. Japan joins America's Genesis mission for AI and supercomputers. Japan has officially and enthusiastically confirmed its highly strategic, groundbreaking partnership in the United States' incredibly ambitious and massive Genesis Mission National Project. This formal, highly celebrated diplomatic agreement explicitly and proudly designates Japan as the very first trusted international partner to formally join the revolutionary technological initiative. Both powerful national governments have firmly and publicly committed to heavily investing an enormous $500 million each over the critical next 5 years.
The sprawling Genesis mission is fundamentally and intricately designed to drastically and rapidly accelerate complex scientific research and unprecedented technological innovation by deeply integrating cutting-edge artificial intelligence and the world's most advanced supercomputers. Top U.S. federal officials warmly praised the deep collaboration, poetically describing the massive joint effort as a truly defining historical moment for the next advanced era of discovery science and robust, impenetrable national security. Consequently, leading elite research institutions from both technologically advanced nations will now cooperate extremely closely, sharing highly sensitive data. This pact creates an undeniable technological fortress against rival nations. Vocabulary: ambitious. Adjective: the brilliant, fearless aerospace engineer proposed a highly ambitious, multi-billion-dollar plan to thoroughly and permanently colonize Mars. Designate. Verb: the proud city mayor officially and publicly designated the beautiful, ancient historical building as a strictly protected national landmark. Groundbreaking. Adjective: the brilliant medical research team finally published completely groundbreaking, revolutionary research on permanently curing deadly genetic diseases. Initiative. Noun: the progressive government heavily and rapidly funded a massive new green initiative to quickly clean up the deeply polluted ocean. Commit. Verb: the massive global corporation is firmly and publicly committed to heavily reducing its overall damaging carbon footprint within 5 years. Drastically. Adverb: the sudden severe summer drought drastically and tragically reduced the poor local farm's vital annual crop yield to almost nothing. Accelerate. Verb: the strong, unexpected wind began to quickly and terrifyingly accelerate the truly terrifying, unstoppable spread of the deadly forest wildfire. Integrate. Verb: the modern, innovative teacher deeply wants to effectively integrate more advanced digital tablet technology into the daily traditional classroom learning. Defining. Adjective: finally winning the highly prestigious, difficult international chess championship was totally and undeniably the defining moment of her long career. Collaboration. Noun: the highly successful, best-selling new software product is the brilliant, flawless result of a close, secret collaboration between two rival tech companies. Impenetrable. Adjective: the ancient stone castle was surrounded by thick, high walls that made it completely impenetrable to the tired attacking enemy army. Fortress. Noun: the paranoid billionaire built a massive, high-tech, secure fortress deep in the quiet mountains to completely hide from the crazy public. Initiative. Imicium. Ah, 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 ah.
7.2 Analysis. Iran conflict poses diplomatic test for PM Takaichi. The frighteningly escalating, violent Middle East crisis has unfortunately and unfairly left newly appointed Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi facing an incredibly delicate, high-stakes diplomatic balancing act. As explosive, deadly military tensions intensely and relentlessly persist between the powerful U.S. and a defiant Iran, Takaichi must carefully and flawlessly navigate a highly complex, potentially volatile upcoming bilateral summit with U.S. President Donald Trump. Economically, Japan is deeply and helplessly reliant on the volatile Middle East for its absolute, crucial daily energy imports, making absolute regional political stability a top, non-negotiable national priority. Simultaneously, maintaining a completely unified, rock-solid political and military front with Washington remains fundamentally and historically essential for Japan's broader, long-term Asian security strategy against regional threats. Senior, experienced political correspondents sharply note that the stubbornly stalled, bitter peace negotiations over Iran's controversial nuclear program severely and continually complicate Tokyo's desperate diplomatic maneuvering. The highly dangerous situation absolutely demands exceptionally nuanced, masterful, and quiet statecraft to avoid offending either critical side. Vocabulary. Delicate. Adjective. 섬세한, 미묘한, 까다로운. The highly experienced, older diplomat carefully handled the extremely delicate, tense international peace negotiations with great, quiet skill. Balancing act. Noun phrase. 균형 잡기, 아슬아슬한 줄타기. Being a full-time working mother while studying at night is a constant, exhausting, and very difficult daily balancing act. Persist. Verb. 지속되다, 고집하다. If the severe, sharp stomach pain firmly and strangely persists for another full week, you should definitely and immediately see a doctor. Navigate. Verb. 항해하다, 복잡한 상황을 헤쳐나가다. The highly skilled, calm CEO successfully and safely navigated the huge, struggling company through a terrible, terrifying global financial crisis. Reliant. Adjective. 의존하는. The small, poor island nation is completely and totally reliant on cheap international tourism for its basic daily economic revenue. Unified. Adjective. 통일된, 통합된. The bitterly divided political party must quickly present a strong, perfectly unified public front to have any chance to win the upcoming election. Maneuver. Verb / noun. 기동하다. 묘책을 쓰다. 작전. The smart, cunning defense lawyer used a brilliant, highly complex legal maneuver to completely and surprisingly win the tough murder case. Statecraft. Noun. 국정운영 능력, 외교술. Achieving real, lasting, and meaningful peace in the highly explosive region requires truly exceptional, patient diplomatic statecraft from world leaders. Correspondent. Noun. 특파원, 통신원. The brave, veteran war correspondent reported live, directly from the middle of the extremely dangerous, active urban combat zone. Complicate. Verb. 복잡하게 만들다. The sudden, totally unexpected heavy winter rain will definitely and annoyingly complicate our carefully planned outdoor hiking travel plans. High stakes. Adjective. 내기, 결과 등의 판돈이 큰, 중대한. The aggressive corporate executives engaged in a thrilling, high-stakes secret poker game where millions of dollars were easily won and lost. Non-negotiable. Adjective. 협상할 수 없는, 절대적인. For the strict, loving parents, the child's basic physical safety and good health are absolutely non-negotiable, top daily priorities. 시사용어 해설. Statecraft, 국정운영 능력, 외교술, and 밸런싱 액트, 아슬아슬한 줄타기. 스테이트크래프트는 단순한 정치적 처세술을 넘어 국가의 최고 지도자가 복잡다단한 국제무대에서 자국의 이익, 국익을 극대화하고 국가 안보를 수호하기 위해 발휘하는 고도의 종합적인 외교적 수완, 지략, 그리고 거시적인 정치 리더십을 총칭하는 가장 고급스러운 시사 용어이다. 미국, 가장 강력한 군사동맹, 과, 중동, 가장 거대한 에너지 공급처, 이라는 두 마리 토끼를 모두 놓치지 않아야 하는 일본 총리의 딜레마를 묘사할 때 얇은 줄 위에서 떨어지지 않으려 버티는 서커스 묘기에 빗댄 밸런싱 액트라는 표현은 기사의 생동감을 최고로 끌어올린다.
7.3. Level 5 emergency warning for floods in Wakayama Prefecture. Top meteorological authorities in Japan have urgently and frantically issued a maximum, extremely rare Level 5 emergency warning for catastrophic, fast-moving floods, specifically targeting the highly vulnerable Wakayama Prefecture. Unprecedented, punishing torrential rainfall has fiercely and relentlessly battered the entire western Japanese coastal region, rapidly overflowing major, deep local rivers and severely, disastrously overwhelming modern urban drainage systems. Panicked emergency management officials have forcefully and repeatedly instructed all trapped, vulnerable residents to take immediate, absolute, and extreme life-saving actions to simply survive the terrifyingly fast-rising black waters.
The intense, unrelenting heavy downpour has critically and exponentially heightened the severe, immediate risk of deadly, crushing mudslides in densely populated mountainous residential areas. Brave, exhausted military rescue teams have been aggressively deployed via helicopters, but highly treacherous, unpredictable extreme weather conditions continue to dangerously hinder any comprehensive, safe evacuation efforts. The horrific, sudden disaster strongly underscores the terrifyingly increasing frequency and brutal severity of modern extreme climate weather events. Vocabulary: meteorological, adjective. The official National Meteorological Agency quickly issued a highly severe, urgent warning about the massive approaching summer typhoon. Catastrophic, adjective. The massive, unexpected 8.0 magnitude earthquake caused truly catastrophic, heartbreaking damage to the entire ancient, beautiful city. Torrential, adjective. The sudden, terrifying torrential downpour completely and violently flooded the busy downtown city streets in mere minutes. Batter, verb. The incredibly violent, loud winter storm continuously and viciously battered the tiny, fragile wooden fishing village all night long. Overflow, verb. The heavy, constant freezing rain caused the normally quiet local river to dangerously and suddenly overflow its high concrete banks. Vulnerable, adjective. The frail elderly and the deeply sick patients are especially critically vulnerable to the extreme freezing winter cold. Mudslide, noun. The nonstop heavy rainfall unfortunately triggered a massive roaring mudslide that instantly buried several sleeping houses completely. Deploy, verb. The caring government will swiftly and efficiently deploy hundreds of trained emergency medical workers to the devastated smoking disaster zone. Treacherous, adjective. The heavily icy, steep mountain roads are incredibly silently treacherous to drive on right now without special winter tires. Hinder, verb. The severe lack of adequate, consistent financial funding will severely and permanently hinder the important, life-saving cancer scientific research. Unrelenting, adjective. The extremely hot, baking desert sun was totally unrelenting, quickly making the lost travelers incredibly thirsty and weak. Exponential, adjective. The highly contagious new virus showed an absolutely terrifying exponential growth rate within the crowded, dirty city slums. Level 5 emergency warning. 5. Mudslide. 5. 100 Mbori. 5. Mudslide Mbori.
8. Al Jazeera. 8.1. Peru's presidential runoff election. Fujimori versus Sanchez. Tired and highly anxious Peruvians are nervously returning to the heavily guarded polls for a deeply and dangerously polarized presidential runoff election featuring prominent right-wing candidate Keiko Fujimori and radical leftist challenger Roberto Sanchez. Following a deeply confusing, chaotic first round severely marred by terrible logistical ballot shortages and intense, violent street protests, the national political stakes are now phenomenally and historically high. Fujimori, the highly polarizing daughter of the jailed, controversial former president Alberto Fujimori, is desperately making her fourth determined, stubborn bid for the divided nation's top presidency. However, she critically and fundamentally struggles to connect with poor, rural, and marginalized indigenous communities who vividly and painfully recall her father's dark authoritarian legacy and horrific human rights scandals. Meanwhile, Sanchez represents a stark, entirely opposite ideological alternative for the severely frustrated, exhausted working-class electorate demanding massive wealth redistribution. The final, closely watched election result will decidedly and permanently shape Peru's highly volatile, fragile economic and political future. Vocabulary: runoff. Noun, meaning a final deciding election. The two leading popular candidates will fiercely and aggressively face each other in a final, tense runoff election next week. Polarized. Adjective, meaning divided into sharply opposing groups. The divided nation's ugly political climate has become deeply and dangerously polarized over the highly controversial new tax issue. Mar. Verb, meaning to spoil or damage. The otherwise beautiful, perfect outdoor wedding ceremony was terribly and suddenly marred by a loud, drunk argument. Logistical. Adjective, relating to the organization of a complex operation. Distributing the massive amount of food aid presents extremely complex, nightmare logistical challenges for the small, poor charity. Bid. Noun or verb, meaning an attempt or effort to achieve something. The ambitious, highly wealthy young politician officially and loudly announced his determined, expensive bid for the powerful state presidency. Critically. Adverb, meaning in a way that is of essential or decisive importance. The heavily damaged old steel bridge is critically and absolutely important for maintaining the busy city's daily transport network. Vivid. Adjective, producing powerful, clear images in the mind. I still possess incredibly vivid, bright, and happy memories of my joyful, carefree childhood summer vacations by the sea. Legacy. Noun, meaning something handed down by a predecessor. The great, peaceful civil rights leader left behind an absolutely inspiring, immortal historical legacy that still changes lives today. Stark. Adjective, meaning sharp, clear, or severe in appearance. There is a truly stark, uncomfortable, and highly visible contrast between the extreme wealth and terrible, dirty poverty in the capital city. Volatile. Adjective, meaning highly unstable or liable to change rapidly. The global technology stock market has been incredibly, frighteningly volatile recently due to the ongoing scary international political crisis. Marginalize. Verb, meaning to treat a person or group as insignificant or peripheral. Society must never cruelly ignore or unfairly marginalize the weakest, poorest minority groups living quietly in the dark slums. Redistribute. Verb, meaning to distribute something differently or more fairly. The Progressive Socialist Party strongly promised to heavily tax the super-rich and fairly redistribute the wealth to the struggling poor. Key terms explained. Runoff and polarized. A runoff is an electoral system adopted by some countries, such as France. When no candidate wins a legal majority of over 50% of the votes in the first round and a winner is not determined, a final one-on-one vote is held between the top two candidates to prevent votes from being split and to decide the final president. Polarized is a key political science term referring to a deeply troubled social phenomenon where people's political orientations or ideologies are completely split into extreme right and left wings, much like the north and south poles of a magnet. In this state, the middle ground or moderate faction disappears, and the opposing sides confront and view each other with extreme hostility, unable to reach any compromise. 8.2. Gaza Ice Cream Parlor survives genocide, gives students hope. In the utterly devastated, tragically war-torn city of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, a small, incredibly resilient local ice cream parlor miraculously and stubbornly survived the ongoing, completely devastating aerial bombardments. The busy, tiny shop is currently proudly operated by 7 highly dedicated, intelligent university students, including bright youths diligently studying medicine, dentistry, and advanced software engineering. Desperate to somehow fund their incredibly expensive, out-of-reach tuitions and financially support their starving, struggling families, the brave young adults passionately pour all their exhausting energy into happily serving the traumatized local community with sweet treats. Tragically, one bright student, Abu Masleh, had to sadly and painfully defer his current academic semester simply due to an overwhelming, crushing financial burden placed on his poor family. Having narrowly and incredibly survived a highly deadly, explosive Israeli drone strike, while bravely attempting to simply retrieve his buried textbooks from the smoking rubble of his completely destroyed home, his absolute, unwavering commitment to higher education remains deeply and profoundly inspiring to the world. The brightly colored, bullet-scarred shop bravely stands as a highly poignant, powerful symbol of enduring, unbreakable human hope amidst total despair. Vocabulary. War-torn. Adjective. The brave international humanitarian group quickly delivered heavy food aid to the totally desperate, starving citizens of the war-torn country. Resilient. Adjective. Innocent children are surprisingly, amazingly resilient and can quickly, almost miraculously bounce back from experiencing terrible, dark hardships.
Miraculously, adverb. The brave, highly skilled pilot miraculously and unbelievably survived the truly horrifying, fiery, and completely violent airplane crash. Dedicated, adjective. She is a highly respected, deeply dedicated old teacher who always totally and completely prioritizes her young students' ultimate success. Diligently, adverb. The smart, quiet young scholar diligently and carefully studied the boring ancient texts alone in the library for many long, lonely years. Desperate, adjective. The deeply trapped, terrified coal miners were in absolutely desperate, screaming need of fresh, clean air and cold drinking water. Defer, verb. Due to a severe, sudden lack of public funds, the angry city committee decided to indefinitely defer the ambitious new housing project. Overwhelming, adjective. The sudden, completely overwhelming wave of deep, dark grief made it extremely difficult for the poor widow to clearly speak to anyone. Unwavering, adjective. The old, decorated military general maintained his totally unwavering, iron commitment to bravely defending the highly fragile, weak young nation. Poignant, adjective.
The sad, beautiful romance movie slowly ends with a truly poignant, heartbreaking final scene that frequently makes the entire packed audience cry loudly. Trauma, noun. The poor, shivering dog suffered severe, lasting psychological trauma after being cruelly beaten and abandoned by its terrible previous owner. Rubble, noun. The exhausted, dirty rescue dogs sniffed frantically through the smoking, dangerous rubble of the completely collapsed concrete hospital building. War-torn and rubble. War-torn, war, tear, torn, Syria, Gaza. Rubble. 8-3. U.S. Senate votes to advance War Powers Resolution. The highly influential United States Senate has officially and courageously voted to heavily advance a crucial, deeply controversial War Powers Resolution, strategically designed to strictly prevent the aggressive president from utilizing any further deadly military force against Iran without obtaining strict, prior congressional approval. In a highly rare, shocking, and striking public rebuke of President Donald Trump, a crucial, small handful of brave Republican senators courageously broke party lines and joined the opposing Democrats to successfully pass the difficult procedural bill. This stunning, historic legislative move clearly represents a highly significant, bold first step toward fully curbing dangerous, unilateral executive war actions. Despite this surprisingly strong, fierce bipartisan pushback from lawmakers, top political analysts widely and cynically expect Trump to quickly and angrily veto the binding resolution if it completely clears both the Senate and the House. The highly symbolic vote powerfully and undeniably highlights a rapidly growing deep domestic unease among tired American citizens regarding the immense, unrecoverable financial and tragic human costs of an endless, extended foreign military conflict. The tension strictly tests the core limits of American constitutional power separation. Vocabulary. Advance. Verb. 전진시키다, 진전시키다. The truly exciting, newly discovered scientific medical breakthrough will greatly and rapidly advance our limited understanding of the human brain. Utilize. Verb. 활용하다, 이용하다. We must smartly and properly utilize all the limited available natural resources just to safely survive the harsh, freezing winter months. Rebuke. Noun / verb. 질책, 꾸짖음, 비난하다. The careless, lazy factory manager received a very stern, loud, and public rebuke from the incredibly angry, disappointed board of corporate directors. Handful. Noun. 소수, 한 움큼. Only a very small, terrified handful of brave, noble people actually dared to fiercely challenge the brutal, heavily armed dictator in public. Procedural. Adjective. 절차해, 절차상해. The strict, unforgiving senior judge completely dismissed the highly complicated, long murder case simply due to a tiny, stupid procedural error by the police. Curb. Verb. 억제하다, 제한하다. The worried central bank finally drastically raised high interest rates to effectively and strongly curb the terribly rising, out-of-control national inflation. Bipartisan. Adjective. 초당적인, 양당의. The newly proposed massive trillion-dollar highway infrastructure bill received surprisingly strong, incredibly rare bipartisan support in the bitterly divided Congress. Pushback. Noun. 반발, 저항. The highly controversial, strict new corporate dress code policy immediately faced massive, angry pushback from all the unhappy, rebellious office employees. Veto. Verb, noun. 거부권을 행사하다. 거부권. The angry, stubborn president immediately and loudly threatened on television to boldly veto the newly passed expensive healthcare budget legislation. Unease. Noun. 불안, 우려. There is a deeply growing, dark sense of quiet public unease regarding the highly unstable, crashing global stock market economy. Separation of powers. Noun phrase. 권력 분립. The genius writers of the ancient Constitution deeply believed that strict separation of powers was absolutely necessary to stop evil tyranny. Break party lines. Phrasal verb. 당론을 거스르다. The brave young senator decided to bravely break strict party lines and vote entirely according to his own strong personal moral conscience. 시사용어 해설. War Powers Resolution, 전쟁 권한 결의안, and veto, 거부권. 미국 정치에서 전쟁 권한 결의안은 1970년대 베트남 전쟁의 참혹한 실패를 교훈 삼아 대통령이 의회의 공식적인 선전포고 없이 미군을 함부로 해외 무력 충돌에 밀어넣지 못하도록 입법부가 행정부의 최고 군통수권을 견제하기 위해 만든 가장 강력한 법적 목줄이다. 반대로 위토, 거부권은 의회가 통과시킨 법안이 마음에 들지 않을 때 대통령이 서명을 거부하고 법안을 폐기해버리는 행정부 수반의 헌법적 막강한 방어무기이다. 따라서 결의안 통과는 실제 법적 구속력을 발휘하기보다 트럼프의 이란 전쟁에 반대하는 국민적 여론과 의회의 강력한 정치적 경고 메시지, 푸시백을 백악관에 보내는 고도의 정치적 행위에 가깝다. 9. CBC Canada 9-1. BC government appoints mediator to avert 911 e-com strike. The worried British Columbia provincial government has urgently and desperately stepped in to successfully and narrowly avert a highly critical, terrifyingly looming strike by the absolutely indispensable 911 emergency service call takers. The anxious government promptly and wisely appointed the highly respected veteran special mediator, Vince Reddy, to peacefully bring the severely frustrated, exhausted workers and their stubborn employer, Ecom, back to the tense negotiating table. Previously, the fiercely protective Representing Labor Union had officially and aggressively issued a strict 72-hour final strike notice, firmly and angrily stating that the chronically overworked, stressed dispatchers were being continuously and mercilessly pushed to their absolute breaking point. Reddy will now intensely and exhaustingly mediate the highly difficult, emotional dispute for exactly 10 full days. Crucially and importantly, if a fair mutual settlement is not voluntarily and peacefully reached within that tight time frame, he possesses the strict, extraordinary legal authority to issue deeply binding recommendations to unilaterally and completely resolve the dangerous public safety conflict. The action highlights the extreme stress within vital emergency services. Vocabulary. Avert, verb. His very quick, smart emergency medical action safely helped to completely avert a potentially fatal, terrible car disaster. Looming, adjective. The completely bankrupt, failing old company is terrified of the fast-looming, dark financial crisis destroying everything. Indispensable, adjective. Clean, safe drinking water and fresh, pure air are absolutely indispensable for sustaining healthy, long human life. Prompt, adjective/verb. The highly reliable, famous delivery company always ensures very prompt, careful shipping of all valuable customer packages. Mediator, noun. The completely neutral, calm, professional mediator successfully helped the two loudly arguing parties reach a fair, cheap compromise. Dispatcher, noun. The highly calm, trained emergency dispatcher quickly sent two fast, loud ambulances to the terrible, bloody crash scene. Breaking point, noun.
The extreme, non-stop daily stress at the busy, toxic office finally pushed the quiet man to his absolute dangerous breaking point. Mediate. Verb. The smart, highly educated diplomat was officially asked to skillfully mediate the difficult long trade dispute between the angry nations. Voluntary. Adjective. Employee participation in the new boring corporate health survey is entirely, completely voluntary for all office workers. Binding. Adjective. The carefully signed thick people contract is a strictly legally binding absolute agreement between both huge wealthy companies. Chronically. Adverb. The poor old public hospital is chronically underfunded and desperately needs more skilled doctors and clean beds immediately.
The cruel, evil dictator mercilessly tortured and killed anyone who dared to publicly speak out against his dark rule. Binding recommendation. And mediator. 3. Mediator. Please read. 911. R. Binding recommendation. And R. Number 9. 2. CBC unveils new 2026-27 programming slate. The highly respected Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, has officially, proudly, and publicly unveiled its highly ambitious, massive new television programming slate, tailored specifically and carefully for the highly competitive 2026-27 broadcast season. The incredibly extensive, diverse broadcasting lineup proudly features over 50 dynamic, brand-new original series that are deeply and culturally rooted in highly authentic, uniquely Canadian storytelling. This exciting upcoming television season heavily and prominently showcases highly famous national stars, directly including globally acclaimed funny personalities like Samantha Bee, talented Sarah Podemski, and extremely popular former NHL hockey player PK Subban. Additionally, highly polished international premium content will be fiercely and strategically highlighted to aggressively attract much broader, younger domestic audiences. Most notably, the highly anticipated, incredibly dark BBC television adaptation of William Golding's brilliant Nobel Prize-winning classic novel, Lord of the Flies, will definitively and thrillingly make its exclusive, highly hyped Canadian premiere on the mainstream CBC and digital CBC Gem platforms this coming colorful fall. The massive announcement perfectly signals a creative, bold renaissance for Canadian public broadcasting. Vocabulary. Slate. Noun. Stapel. The Proud Television Network happily announced its incredibly exciting, diverse new slate of funny comedy shows for the cold winter. Tailor. Verb. Anpassen. The highly talented, expensive chef carefully tailored the complex daily dinner menu to perfectly suit the rich guest's strict dietary needs. Extensive. Adjective. Breit, umfangreich. The grand, beautiful Historical National Museum houses a truly extensive, priceless collection of amazing, perfectly preserved ancient Egyptian art. Authentic. Adjective. Echt, authentisch. The tiny, old, hidden rustic restaurant serves truly authentic, mouth-watering, and incredibly delicious spicy traditional Italian cuisine. Showcase. Verb. Präsentieren. The beautiful, bright, modern gallery was built specifically to beautifully showcase the amazing, vibrant artwork of local struggling young artists. Acclaimed. Adjective. Berühmt, berühmt. The critically acclaimed famous old movie director finally and tearfully won the highly prestigious Golden Oscar Award last night. Highlight. Verb. Betonen. The excellent detailed financial report clearly highlights the struggling company's totally unexpected, rapid, and massive sales growth. Adaptation. Noun. Verfilmung. The brilliantly successful Scary New Movie is a very dark, clever adaptation of a famous violent classic 1980s comic book. Exclusive. Adjective. Exclusive. The popular, expensive fashion magazine published a highly exclusive, secret, and very revealing emotional interview with the tragic pop star. Premiere. Noun. Premiere. The highly anticipated, expensive sci-fi action movie will have its grand red carpet global premiere in rainy London next week. Renaissance. Noun. Wiederaufstieg. Following years of absolute terrible decline, the dirty old neighborhood is finally experiencing a wonderful, bright cultural renaissance. Hype. Noun. Verb. Gleichen.
The marketing team created massive, crazy internet hype for the new shiny video game long before it was actually released. Slate and adaptation. Absatz. Slate. 1 für Absatz. Absatz. And adaptation. Vorspielung. Adaptation. Absatz.
9.3. Colleen Jones inducted into CBC News Hall of Fame. CBC News has formally, proudly, and with deep sadness announced that the dearly departed, highly respected veteran journalist and prominent, beloved sports broadcaster Colleen Jones will be posthumously inducted into the highly prestigious CBC News Hall of Fame this spring. Over the long course of her incredibly extensive, groundbreaking television career, Jones undeniably left an absolutely indelible, glowing mark on the entire landscape of Canadian sports journalism. She was widely and constantly celebrated for her truly unparalleled, fiery passion, her sharp, unyielding journalistic integrity, and her totally exceptional, warm ability to thoroughly and deeply engage everyday viewers nationwide. Her permanent induction serves as a deeply powerful, emotional, and fitting tribute to her monumental, inspiring life legacy and her absolutely unwavering, fierce dedication to the tough broadcasting industry. Respected colleagues, rival journalists, and adoring fans alike warmly and tearfully remember her as a fundamentally trailblazing, brave female figure who significantly and forever elevated the overall professional standards of serious sports reporting across the entire country. Her legendary golden voice will be profoundly and deeply missed by millions. Vocabulary. Posthumously. Adverb. The incredibly brave young fallen soldier was deeply honored and proudly posthumously awarded the nation's highest golden military medal. Induct. Verb. The famous aging rock star will finally be formally and grandly inducted into the Global Music Hall of Fame next year. Indelible. Adjective. The terribly tragic, violent war experience left a truly indelible, dark, and painful mark on the young refugee child's memory. Integrity. Noun. The highly honest, fair judge is universally and widely known for his absolute, unquestionable, and unyielding strict professional integrity. Engage. Verb. The brilliant, funny new teacher uses fun, loud, interactive games to deeply and happily engage his bored young students. Tribute. Noun. The beautiful, sad outdoor memorial concert was a very touching, emotional tribute to the highly beloved, tragically late pop singer. Monumental. Adjective. The incredibly successful, flawless lunar landing was a totally monumental, mind-blowing technological achievement for all of human history. Unwavering. Adjective. Her totally unwavering blind belief in strict, perfect justice heavily and instantly inspired all of her dedicated, loyal young followers. Trailblazing. Adjective. The brilliant, weird scientist published truly trailblazing, shocking new research heavily focused on completely renewable, clean solar energy. Elevate. Verb. The truly stunning, expensive computer visual effects significantly and easily elevated the completely boring movie to a visual masterpiece. Depart. Verb. The beloved old grandfather peacefully and quietly departed this world, surrounded lovingly by his entire crying family at home. Adoring. Adjective. The famous, handsome movie star waved happily and warmly to the massive, screaming crowd of deeply adoring teenage fans. Posthumously. Adverb. Posthumously. Post-hummus. Induct. Induct. Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. Induct. Induct. Hall of Fame. Induct. Induct. Hall of Fame. Induct. Induct. Hall of Fame.
10. DD India. 10-1. PM Modi and Myanmar President Min Aung Hlaing hold talks. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting, highly controversial Myanmar President Min Aung Hlaing held highly crucial, closely watched bilateral diplomatic talks at the Grand Hyderabad House, situated in New Delhi. During their long, highly comprehensive and detailed meeting, Both powerful leaders resolutely and mutually agreed to drastically and rapidly expand their vital economic cooperation, strategically and ambitiously aiming to aggressively boost bilateral trade to a massive $5 billion. President Min Aung-hlaing strongly and warmly invited robust, heavy Indian financial investments, particularly and carefully spotlighting highly lucrative, untapped opportunities in the rapidly growing digital IT sector and vital, massive border infrastructure projects. In polite but firm response, PM Modi confidently and clearly reiterated India's absolute, unwavering commitment to fully and unconditionally supporting struggling Myanmar as a highly trusted historical neighbor and deeply reliable long-term strategic military partner. This powerful, highly collaborative diplomatic stance directly and perfectly aligns with India's heavily established core neighborhood first and aggressive Act East foreign policies designed to counter Chinese influence. The intimate talks effectively and completely solidified their long-standing, complicated geopolitical partnership. Vocabulary: crucial. Adjective: 중대한, 결정적인. The extremely quick, organized arrival of fresh, vital medical supplies was absolutely undeniably crucial to totally stopping the spreading virus. Bilateral. Adjective: 양자 간에, 쌍방에. The two angry, heavily armed enemy countries successfully and peacefully negotiated a totally fair, new bilateral trade agreement yesterday. Comprehensive. Adjective: 포괄적인. The smart, hard-working young student wrote a very comprehensive, perfectly researched long essay accurately covering all the major test points. Resolutely. Adverb: 단호하게, 결연히. The incredibly brave, surrounded military leader resolutely and angrily refused to quietly, cowardly surrender to the dangerous, massive invading army. Spotlight. Verb: 집중 조명하다, 두드러지게 하다. The recent, award-winning, shocking news article strongly and clearly spotlights the severe, totally hidden, deadly dangers of invisible ocean plastic pollution. Lucrative. Adjective: 수익성이 좋은. She cleverly and quickly turned her fun, silly, small hobby into a highly lucrative, multi-million-dollar global online jewelry business. Vital. Adjective: 필수적인, 생명 유지에 필요한. Deep, undisturbed, and quiet sleep is absolutely, medically vital for properly maintaining good, strong physical health and sharp mental focus. Reiterate. Verb: 반복하다, 되풀이하다. The angry, red-faced office manager angrily and loudly reiterated the strict, non-negotiable rule that absolutely no personal cell phones are ever allowed. Commitment. Noun: 약속, 헌신. The wealthy company's huge, generous financial cash donation shows a real, deep, and sincere commitment to strongly protecting delicate local nature. Align. Verb: 나란히 하다, 일치시키다. Your personal, everyday actions and choices must always strictly, completely align with the highest ethical, moral core values of our company. Untapped. Adjective: 아직 개척되지 않은, 이용되지 않은. The extremely remote, wild mountain region possesses absolutely massive, completely untapped natural resources of clean, pure underground fresh water. Stance. 명사. 입장, 태도. The conservative government took a highly aggressive, firm, and uncompromising political stance against all forms of illegal, undocumented border immigration. Neighborhood First, 이웃 최우선 정책, and Act East, 신동방 정책. 인도의 나렌드라 모디 정부가 국가 안보와 경제의 핵심으로 내세우는 양대 거대 외교 정책이다. 네이버후드 퍼스트는 미얀마, 방글라데시, 스리랑카, 몰디브 등 국경을 맞대거나 인접한 남아시아 국가들과의 관계를 최우선으로 강화하여 중국의 일대일로가 인도양으로 진출하는 것을 철저히 차단하고 영내 맹주로서의 지위를 지키려는 방어적 전략이다. 액트 이스트는 과거의 룩 이스트, 동방 정책을 한층 더 공격적으로 발전시켜 동남아시아 국가연합 국가들 및 동아시아 지역과의 적극적인 군사, 경제적 결속력을 강화하려는 팽창적 외교 노선이다.
10-2. Trump pardons former U.S. congressman convicted of securities fraud. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has highly controversially and completely unexpectedly issued a full, sweeping executive pardon to a deeply disgraced former U.S. congressman who was previously definitively, completely convicted of committing severe, multi-million-dollar securities fraud. This totally unexpected, highly questionable legal political maneuver effectively, instantly, and completely erases the severe, justified criminal penalties that were rightfully and legally imposed by the independent federal justice system after a long trial. The totally bold, arrogant decision has instantly and violently reignited a fiery, angry, nationwide political debate regarding the potentially highly corrupt, unchecked abuse of the supreme, unchallengeable presidential pardon power. Fierce, loud critics and the completely outraged political opposition vehemently and angrily argue that such highly selective, biased political clemency dangerously and fatally undermines the absolute fundamental integrity and basic fairness of the entire American judicial system. They strongly, passionately insist it sends a truly terrible, incredibly destructive public message that highly powerful, wealthy political elites are completely, safely immune to any basic, normal legal accountability. The controversial pardon clearly illustrates the weaponization of executive privileges. Vocabulary: pardon, verb, noun. The deeply unpopular, outgoing governor decided to secretly and quickly pardon the violently convicted, dangerous criminal just right before leaving his high office. Convict. Verb. The angry, tired jury quickly and unanimously decided to strictly convict the quiet suspect of highly organized, violent armed bank robbery. Securities fraud. Noun phrase. The greedy, selfish Wall Street banker was suddenly arrested and strictly charged with massive, destructive, multi-million-dollar corporate securities fraud. Maneuver. Noun. The slippery politician's sudden, fake public apology was easily seen as a very clever, calculating strategic maneuver just to quickly win cheap votes. Penalty. Noun. The incredibly strict, cold-hearted judge imposed the absolute, terrifying, maximum penalty legally available for the horrible, gruesome, violent crime. Reignite. Verb. The sudden, truly shocking discovery of fresh blood will definitely and instantly reignite the cold, forgotten criminal police investigation into the dark mystery. Clemency. Noun. The desperate crime prisoner begged the cold, silent state governor for immediate legal clemency right before his harsh, impending, deadly execution. Undermine. Verb. Constant, loud public arguing and fighting will definitely, very quickly undermine the young, nervous manager's highly delicate, fragile new leadership authority. Immune. Adjective. Absolutely nobody, no matter how rich, should ever act like they are completely, arrogantly immune to the strict, binding national laws of the land. Accountability. Noun. We urgently and desperately need much greater, stricter financial accountability to cleanly and permanently prevent any more terrible, greedy corporate banking scandals. Disgraced. Adjective. The deeply disgraced, corrupt former police chief was totally ignored and angrily shunned by his old, honest friends after the terrible bribery scandal. Weaponize. Verb. The evil, highly intelligent dictator quickly managed to completely weaponize the country's weak, corrupt court system against all of his innocent political enemies. securities fraud, and executive pardon. Executive pardon. Rich are immune to accountability? Undermine. 10-3. India-US hold Army-to-Army talks in Hawaii. Senior, highly decorated military leaders representing both India and the powerful United States recently quietly convened for highly strategic, top-secret Army-to-Army operational talks securely stationed in military bases in Hawaii. The totally primary, absolute core focus of this incredibly important, rare, high-level meeting was to deeply, methodically discuss highly concrete, actionable ways to significantly and rapidly strengthen their already close, ongoing bilateral defense cooperation. Both heavily armed allied sides resolutely and mutually agreed to quickly, massively expand their complex joint military training exercises and strictly, securely enhance crucial, highly classified intelligence sharing protocols regarding regional threats. These powerful, integrated cooperative military measures are strictly, strategically designed to directly and forcefully maintain a completely free, fully open, and absolutely stable Indo-Pacific maritime region against hostile forces. Top global military analysts strongly and unanimously view this rapidly deepening muscular military alliance as a direct, calculated tactical response to the highly aggressive, relentless territorial expansion of rival authoritarian military powers in the surrounding area. The successful, quiet talks powerfully underscore a solid, unbreakable, long-term strategic and military commitment between the two huge democracies. Vocabulary: convene, verb. The worried school principal will officially, urgently convene a quick, quiet meeting to fully and carefully discuss the sudden, strict new school rules. Concrete, adjective. We really desperately need some highly concrete, easily understandable real-world examples to fully understand this incredibly complex, boring scientific theory. Bilateral, adjective. The two angry, historically bitter nations finally, loudly broke off their long, exhausting bilateral talks over the huge, multi-billion-dollar trade dispute. Resolutely, adverb. The highly motivated, smart young student resolutely and stubbornly promised to totally, perfectly finish his incredibly difficult math homework before going to bed. Enhance, verb. Adding lots of fresh, incredibly spicy green herbs will definitely, surprisingly greatly enhance the nice, warm overall flavor of the otherwise completely boring soup. Protocol, noun. The strict, famous city hospital closely and religiously follows a highly rigid, complex medical safety protocol to quickly and totally prevent dangerous, deadly viral infections. Tactical, adjective. Moving the small, elite special army silently and quickly at deep, dark night was a brilliant, surprising, and highly effective tactical battle decision. Aggressive, adjective. The wild, dirty stray dog suddenly became highly aggressive and violently angry when the foolish young child suddenly approached it too quickly. Expansion, noun.
The rapid, unstoppable physical expansion of the huge, polluting megacity has completely and tragically destroyed lots of nice, quiet, natural green animal habitats. Commitment, noun. The kind, incredibly patient older teacher constantly showed a deep, real, and touching commitment to strongly and lovingly helping her severely struggling poor young students. Maritime, adjective. The small, poor coastal country desperately needs a much stronger, modern navy to completely protect its highly valuable, rich maritime borders from cruel pirates. Intelligence sharing, noun. Strict, highly secure international intelligence sharing between allied spy agencies is absolutely crucial to stopping sudden, hidden global terrorist attacks. Indo-Pacific and intelligence sharing is E, Asia-Pacific. ET, territorial expansion. ET, 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 ET. ET, 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 ET,